Your Patagonia Tenkara rod kit includes your choice of one of 3 Tenkara rod lengths, 40 feet of level line, an 8-foot tapered leader, 12 flies, and the book and video Simple Fly Fishing Techniques for Tenkara and Rod and Reel. Your Temple Forks Outfitters Tenkara rod comes with a storage bag, a line holder, and a spare rod tip. There are 3 models. The rod we have here is 10.5 feet and intended for wet fly fishing. We also have an 8.5 foot model intended for small creeks and children, and an 11.5 foot model intended for delicate dry fly fishing. Your rod came with the line holders in place. In case you've removed them, here's how to go ahead and reattach them. 2 clips and a few heavy-duty rubber O-rings come with your rod. When you put these on, it creates a line holder that you can use while fishing. Start at the butt end of the rod, unscrewing the cap, making sure that the rod is tilted towards the front end and stopper. If the rod is not tilted that way and is tilted down, you risk potentially breaking the rod by it coming out of the butt end of it. Take the short clip, attach it squarely onto the back, hold it in place as you screw the cap back on. Once the cap is in place, you want to make sure it has a snug fit. You want to check this periodically to make sure it stays tight. After the bottom clip is snugly in place, start with the front. Remove the stopper and begin with your O-rings. As you put the O-rings on, slide down towards the butt end of the rod, just a little ways. Once 3 O-rings are in place, grab the longer clip and begin threading it through the O-rings. Roll each O-ring over the top of the clip as you work your way down. Create a little space with each O-ring, making sure the line holder is down firm and stays in place. Once the top and bottom clip are in place, make sure that both line up. Once they're aligned, put the stopper back in the end of the rod. There's your line holder. To rig your Tenkara rod, you begin by tying a stopper knot in the lilian. The lilian is a 2-inch piece of cord found at the end of the rod tip. From here, find your rod tip and your lilian. The stopper knot is basically an overhand knot with 1 more loop added on. Start creating a loop in the lilian. Bring the tag end of the cord through the loop. Add a little bit of pressure, but don't close the loop entirely. Bring the tag back through the loop 1 more time. Once that's through, pull both ends of the cord tight, and there's your stopper knot. To extend the rod, you're going to start with the narrow end, with thumb and forefinger pulling the lilian up. As you extend each section, make sure you're seating each new section of the rod, holding it in place. Once you've got through each section, a little added pressure towards the end. Make sure everything is staying in place. Now to collapse the rod, we're just going to reverse the steps. Start on the butt end of the rod. Once you get that section down moving, go ahead and hold that section so that isn't resting against the cap and risking damage to the rod. Take 1 section at a time, unseating each one. If you find that you have a little pressure or a stuck section, be sure not to force it. If you do, you potentially risk breaking it by jamming it against the end cap in the rod. Once you get all sections of the rod back in place, go ahead and add the stopper. Your kit comes with 40 feet of level line from Cortland and an 8-foot tapered leader. I'm now going to cut our level line into a 20, 12, and 8-foot section. The 20-foot section is for general wet and dry fly fishing. The 12-foot section is for small creeks and nymphing. And the 8-foot section is to be used with your 20-foot section to lengthen it out for big western rivers. To rig our line on our Tenkara rod, we're going to begin with our 20-foot section. Now we're going to tie a TURLE knot on one end and a perfection loop on the other. If we were to use our 12-foot section, we would rig them both the same. The TURLE knot is basically an overhand knot with a loop tied into it. Begin by forming a loop with the tag line facing the right. Bring your tag line underneath to create a smaller loop. Tag line passes through that smaller loop 2 times. There's once. There's twice. Pinch both the tag line and the standing line. Cinch down the loop there. Also, and adjust the knot by pulling down towards the standing line. Remember, the TURLE knot is an adjustable loop, and be sure to leave yourself a tag line to remove the TURLE knot later on. Onto our perfection knot on the other side of the line. Start here, fold the line with the loop underneath, tag line out to our right, wrap around the thumb, then take our tag line, go in between the 2 loops we've created. From there, reach through the large loop, gather the small loop, pull through while holding both the tag line and the line itself, forming our perfection loop right there. And then cut the tag off flush. Now this is a static loop. Take the TURLE knot, place it over the stopper knot on our Lillian. Then you're going to cinch the loop end of the TURLE knot down so it's snug against our stopper knot. To extend our 20-foot line, we're going to substitute our 8-foot on our stopper knot for our Lillian to increase our full line length to 28 feet. To begin, loosen up our TURLE knot we tied previously with the 20-foot section. Get our TURLE knot we have here on our 8-foot section, going over our stopper knot on the Lillian, cinching down, snug again. After that, we take our stopper knot on our 8-foot section and attach that with our TURLE knot from our 20-foot section. We do that the same way as previously. TURLE knot over the stopper knot, cinch the loop down snugly. Once it's on, you now have 28 feet of line. Your kit comes with an 8-foot tapered leader and already has a pre-tied perfection loop at the butt end of the leader. To attach our leader in our line, we begin by unraveling our leader spool. An easy way to unravel your leader is to begin by placing the loop over your hands, untwist both ends of the leader, and begin to unravel it off the end of your finger. You can start with your perfection loop side here. Once that's out, then you can begin to unravel the spool here from your hand. If you can find the other end, get that free as well. You can begin working from there. Take your time on spooling to make sure you don't tie any knots or get any kinks in your leader. After we've unspooled our leader, grab our perfection loop here in our line. Going to take our leader loop and hitch it to our line loop. Pass the leader loop through the end of the tapered leader, through that loop, Pull all 8 feet through. Now you're set. To tie a fly onto your leader, you're going to be using a non-slip loop knot. I'm going to illustrate this knot using line, not our actual leader. To begin our knot, we start by tying an overhand knot. Once you get that tag line through, be sure not to pull the loop closed. You want to leave that open. Take your tag line, put it through the eye of the hook in your fly. Now the rule of thumb is to have your tag line follow where you started with your loop. So put your tag line back through the overhand knot you created. Pull that tag line through. Once you have these loops fairly close together, go ahead and hold those with your thumb. You're going to wrap your tag line a minimum of 4 times. Once you've done that, then you're going to go ahead and follow back through that knot you created. There you are. Grab that with your thumb. Now take your time here and slowly pull the standing line. And you're also going to be pulling a little bit of that tag line as well. It's a good idea to get a little bit of spit or water here on your knots so the line slips over each other and they stack up clean. I'm going to slowly, by pulling both the standing and the tag line, getting those knots to stand nice and clean. Once you have them fairly close, give it a little extra snug by pushing those knots up top. Once everything is tight within the knot, go ahead and clip your tag line. Here you have your non-slip loop knot. I tied the knot using our fly line so it's easier to see. Here's how the fly looks attached to our leader. Before fishing, it's critical to straighten your line to make sure there's no slack in your system. We do that by using a chunk of rubber inner tube, applying pressure to both line and leader, taking the line through the pinched piece of rubber, all the way down through your leader. Do this as many times as necessary to make sure you don't have any kinks or coils in your setup. When moving from one place to another on the river, you can store your line and leader here on the rod with your line holder. Begin at the butt end of the rod and wrap both line and leader here, ending with your fly attached to the cork in the handle. When traveling, you can remove the line from your rod and place it on the line holder here on your bag. To do so, remove the fly and take the line, wrap it around the holder similar to the rod. Alternatively, you can store your line and leader on your rod. After removing your fly, wrap line and leader around your line holder. Once you're finished with that, you've got your leader down here at your handle. Go ahead and take a rubber band, go around your leader and line to hold it in place. If this isn't quite enough to get you started, check out our book, Simple Fly Fishing, Techniques for Tenkara and Rod and Reel.